In August of 2000, a baby girl named Snow was born with an extremely rare metabolic disorder. She was given no more than 30 months to live, and her life would be spent entirely in the hospital with feeding tubes. Snow suffered terribly and threw up all the milk that was given to her through her feeding tube. At 7 months, upon her parents' request, doctors agreed to stop the feeding and give her morphine. Snow passed peacefully and painlessly. Baby euthanasia is morally permissible in certain cases of severe terminal suffering with no hope of relief, like Snow's case. The principle of justice states that people should get what is fair to them. According to Brock, some killings are ethically justified, including many instances of stopping life support. It wouldn't be fair for Snow to spend her life suffering in a hospital. Therefore, her death was ethically justified. Beneficence states that we should actively seek out what is best for the patient. Therefore, physicians should seek to eliminate patients' suffering and pain. Similarly, the principle of non-maleficence states that physicians should do no harm to their patients. Removing baby Snow's feeding tubes and giving her morphine relieved her pain and suffering, thus following the principle of beneficence. Additionally, since she was unable to keep her food down, removing the feeding tube didn't cause her any harm, thus following the principle of non-maleficence. According to Callahan, allowing a patient to die is morally permissible. Removing the feeding tube was allowing her to die from the underlying metabolic disorder she was born with, not killing her. Weak paternalism is directed at people who are not autonomous enough to make their own decisions. It's the act of making a decision in the patient's best interest for the patient. Since baby Snow wasn't autonomous, it was morally permissible for the parents to make the decision for her because they made it in her best interest. The ethics of care is a moral perspective that is based upon close personal relationships. It focuses on love, sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Removing the feeding tubes acted upon compassion and sympathy for her inability to digest food. Administering the morphine acted out of love and compassion, as the doctors and parents didn't want Snow to suffer. Allowing her to die was acting out of love and compassion, and was therefore consistent with the ethics of care. Some might argue that if parents euthanize children with untreatable, fatal diseases, parents will begin to euthanize any child with any kind of disorder or defect, no matter how minor this defect may be. This, however, is a slippery slope logical fallacy. Our argument is for euthanasia in some specific cases, not in all cases. Others might argue that allowing her to die harmed her, because doctors had the capability to keep her alive. However, letting her suffer was harming her. Her condition was terminal, and all she knew of life was suffering in hospitals. As we argued earlier, this isn't just. Therefore, letting baby Snow die was not harmful. In certain cases, it's better to end a patient's life painlessly than to prolong their unbearable suffering. This was the case with baby Snow, and it was therefore ethical to end her life.